Creepers at Walmart, read by Psycho. About 2 weeks ago, my mom and I had to go to Walmart to get our meds. She gets home from work late, so we get over to Walmart about 7 p.m. The parking lot is horribly underlit, as is the entrance to the store. As we're walking towards the entrance, a man walks towards me and pauses, like he's going to start a conversation with me. He's wearing a cap, cargo shorts, and sneakers. I can't really make out any details of his face, but I'm fairly sure I don't know him. My mom and I walk in and go to the pharmacy counter, which is right in front of the store. I could clearly see the guy. He looks to be in his late 30s and uh, early 40s. It is very dirty, and his eyes are very sunken in. He keeps staring at me and walking round where we are. As my mom is talking to the pharmacist, I notice another man start walking with the first. This man is heavy set with dark hair and glasses. He's far dirtier than the other man. The pharmacist need a few more minutes to fill the last script, so we sit and wait. I tell my mom about the men, and she tells me to stay near her. The guy in the cap is mumbling loudly to himself and keeps pacing behind me. I ask my mom for the truck key so I can wait outside for her. She says that being a little 17-year-old girl in a dark parking lot is a bad idea, even without two people following her. She sees that I am uncomfortable and on the verge of tears, so she gets up and goes to talk to them. I'm her only child, so of course she is very protective of me. She walks over to the men and talks to them for about 2 minutes. They're far enough away that I can't hear what she's saying, but I can see how uncomfortable the men look. As my mom walks back to me, the men leave the store. I ask her what she said to them, and she said she took care of it. Pedo of Walmart, read by Psycho. So when I was about 12 or so, I was friends with a girl, Becky. So Becky's mom was really sweet, and she understood that at the time my home life wasn't ideal. So she would take me on trips out of town to go shopping. Now, being from a really small town, our idea of shopping trip was going to Walmart, and it was me, Becky, Becky's mom, and another one of our friends. I remember I was looking at ties because I fancied myself some sort of a emo kid. And the time when this very old man began for my attention. He looked to be in his 60s or 70s, liver spots, hunch, per white hair, the works. He pulls out of a wallet and kind of croaks out, "Excuse me, miss, but could you help me find the price of this wallet?" So of course I'm thinking I'll help this guy because why not? So I teeter over and grab the wallet. And as I'm looking for the price, he leans over and whispers into my ear, "You're a sexy girl, you know that?" I turn around, assuming I must have been hearing things, and ask if he could repeat himself. He says it again and proceeds to grab my arm. I look and I see Becky at the others and nowhere near me, so I bolt in a completely random direction. Eventually, I managed to find the front of the store, so I just waited for Becky's mom to find me. When she asked where I went, I explained the situation to her, so we left pretty hastily. I don't think I ever feared for my safety in such a way before. So mysterious Walmart pedo? Let's not meet again. What They Don't Tell You About the People of Walmart, read by Psycho. I worked as a Walmart cashier for a little over a year. I quit in August of 2015 when I went away to college. As a cashier, you see a lot of people in a day, especially at Walmart. And after a while, you don't even see people's faces when you look at them. But there are some people that you see so often you start to recognize and sometimes learn their names. There was this one guy, always in the Green Bay Packers hoodie and the Cargo Cubs baseball cap, that would often seek out my line no matter how long it was, just so he could stare at me and rarely say a word. Whenever he did say anything to me, it would he would always lean across the register to get closer to my face. He always gave me a really bad vibe, but when I asked the other cashiers about him, they say that he had never been weird around them. One of the girls even said he was a close family friend. After that, I dropped the issue. One night after I've been there about a year, I was working a 2 to 11 shift. Those shifts were always the worst because you would be there for 3 sometimes. 4 front end managers, but also because it takes the chunk out of your day where you could actually do anything. So I am down on the shelf checkout. It's about 10:15, so I'm counting the minutes until I could shut it down at 10 till 11. The creepy guy comes in front door and makes a beeline for me at the self checkout podium. When I see him come in, I instantly get nervous. He walks up and says, "Can I still buy a phone card in electronics?" I told him I only worked as a cashier on the front end, so I didn't know anything about electronics, but he could go back to the back and check. He seemed peeved by this answer, but he walked away without another word. About 10 minutes later, he comes back with a prepaid phone card and says there's no one at the register in electronics, so I activate his card and hand it to him, telling him to have a good night. But he pushes the card back at me without saying a word. I say, "Is something wrong?" To which he replies, "These minutes aren't on my phone yet," and they I was confused by this statement because, of course, they weren't. He had just bought the card. I shook my head and waved the card in front of my face. "What the fuck? Are you just standing there? Reactivate my card." When he talked, he was so close I could smell his breath, and I was scared. I wanted to put in a call to the CSM so that someone would come down and help me. This is where I should probably mention I'm about 5.3 tall, and he's closer to 6.5 tall, and I'm very stocky. So he was towering over me, and the thought of he could easily overpower crossed my mind. But I get so nervous whenever men yell or cuss at me because my dad was never the type to yell or cuss. I took the card out of his hand and slammed his cell phone on the scanner. I was trying not to let him know that I was nervous, but I was terrified. I knew that I had never put minutes on a prepaid phone before, and I don't dare tell him that in fear what he might do to me. So I read the directions, pick up his phone, dial the number, and ask I'm putting the card number. This phone run His phone runs out of minutes. I try to call back and I get the error message. I am at loss. Uh, I hand him his phone back and say, I'm sorry, something went wrong. I don't know what is happening. As soon as I say it, he takes the phone, opens it up, and tries to dial someone. And when it doesn't work, he looks at me with the fierce eyes and screams, What the F did you do to my phone? What the F? His voice is echoing in the store. Unfortunately, we haven't gotten the end of second shift rush yet, so there is no one around. He closes his phone and doesn't open it again, trying to make another call, but when it doesn't work, he throws the phone down on the scanner again. He says, I don't know what you did to my phone, but you better effing fix it. But this comes so much more quietly, practically a whisper. At this point, I'm worried he's going to put his hands on me, and I don't know what to do. I put in a call for CSM for my register, and I say I've called someone that might be available to help, but we're at shift change right now, so it might be faster if you take it to the customer service deck. He picks up his phone off the podium and starts mumbling under his breath that I effed up his phone. And I'm hoping I can get out of there before he comes back, or at least have someone else down at the self-checkout with me. Another 15 minutes go by and I don't see him again. As I'm picking up items that people left in the register, getting ready to shut them down for the night, he comes back and stands by the podium. He still looks completely pissed off, and my stomach sank. He made that finger motion that means come here without saying anything for some reason. That makes me even more nervous. When I'm standing in front of him, he leans so close to my face that I think he's going to kiss me or bite me. God knows what. I try to take a step back, but he takes a step forward when I do. A creepy grin comes across his face, and he says, The girl up there fixed it. Simple fix, but the next time I expect you to know what to do. Understand? I nod because I don't think I can speak. He gets impossibly closer before saying, I'm sorry I raised my voice. I never should have done that, especially to a pretty girl like you. When he adds the last part, he lightly uses his finger and tips to the brush of my bangs to say, I took a step back and he said, Let me make it up to you. Let me buy you a drink. I shake my head. No, thank you. I'm only 19. He says, so we could get a couple of beers and go to my place. Again, I shake my head. No, it's okay. I'm not much of a drinker. I have an beers and early morning tomorrow. He looks displeased with this answer and says, Tell you what, I'll wait over here by the door just in case you change your mind. I smile at him weakly and tell him to have a good night. When I see him walk through the security things, I quickly shut down my register and sign out of mine. Then I run over to find a CSM to tell about the whole thing. The third shift CSM that I tell looks like at me like I'm lying, and when I'm finished, says, I know he wouldn't hurt a fly. He doesn't have it in him. You're just being dramatic. He said. She then turns to another older cashier behind her, shakes her head and mumbles, Teenagers, I ask if I can have somebody walk me to my car, and they tell me the management is meeting and the security guy went home already, so cloaked out I clocked out of the and went to the bathroom. I waited in the bathroom for 10 minutes before coming out and attempting to go to my car. When I walked around the corner, though, the security things, he wasn't sitting on the bench right there like I had been expecting. I relaxed a little before I realized he was standing just outside the door, far enough away to keep it from closing, smoking a cigarette. He has his back turned to the door looked through. Luckily, I never went outside the front doors. I always went down to the corridor and out the side door. I quietly closed the door behind me so maybe it wouldn't catch his attention. I rushed to my car, which was fortunately very close to the building. As I quickly walk to my car, I can hear him shout, Hey, why are you avoiding me? Come here. At this point, I take off into a full sprint, which is not very easy because I'm wearing sprays. So it's like running in clogs. I get to my car, get in, lock the doors, and I'm starting it. I don't even bother with my seatbelt, but by that point, he had made it almost all the way to my car and is still yelling, telling me he just wanted to talk. I took off so fast I could take off the longest way home with the most turns and twists that I could. When I got home, I told my dad about the experience, and he was so angry that no one answered my calls or believed me. He called the store manager the next day and complained. I was never contacted about his complaint, but from that night on, whenever I saw that guy, I would run into the bathroom, or if I couldn't get away, I would put on my lane closed sign and turn off my light so he couldn't get in my line. You always hear the people talking about the people at Walmart as being trashy, but they never tell you about a select few, which is as scary as hell. One more reason not to go to Walmart, read by Psycho. So this took place only a few months ago, sometime in early July. I want to say always my friend was over and had to make a run to Walmart. It was around 9 o'clock, not too late, but a time my mother normally wouldn't let me out and about. But given I was graduated, my mom let us go. A quick plan to get garbage bags, something that should have taken 5 minutes top, ended up taking half an hour. We got the garbage bags and walked around for a bit. We kind of fooled around, browsing and talking whatever. During this time, I noticed that my friend was acting kind of weird, but brushed it off. We were standing in the line ready to check out. My friend leaned in close and said, Do you see that guy? I glanced up but didn't know what she was talking about. I still feel real guilty about this. For being too dumb to notice, we started walking. Anyway, after checking out, buying only garbage bags doesn't take a lot of time. As we were leaving, she started to explain that there was some dude that said hello, and being polite, she said hi back. We saw him at the checkout. Both of us being paranoid, naturally, we brushed it off. We got in the car and we saw him in the parking lot. No big deal. Decided to play it safe. We decided to wait until he left. Turns out he had a couple of guys with him. They pulled over on our left, leering at us through the car windows. It was nearly dead silent in the car, but I could swear you could hear our hearts frantically beating. Even typing this, I still get that panic. The car of guys quickly sped over the parking lot next to us. My friend immediately floored the car, pulling us in reverse and speeding out of the parking lot. The guys followed. We honestly thought we were going to die, whether it being from going 80 miles per hour or by a group of creepy dudes. We quickly sped out of there, making a turn on some random road. The car of guys behind us at all times, going as fast as we were. At one point, they ended up passing us and waving before pulling into a church parking lot ahead and turning around to get behind us. At this point, we were going 80 in a 35 and getting closer to my house. Neither of us wanted to lead the guys to our homes, so we thought fast. Near my house, there's a store where you could buy cigarettes, alcohol, candy, pretty much a gas station without any gas pumps. We hauled ass to the back of the store, parking and moving to head in through the back. One of the workers was outside in the back and approached us. All we had to say was we're being stalked. Luckily, the guy understood exactly and started to go out front. We peeked around the corner and laid and lo and behold, the group of guys were around front. My friend and I proceeded to sneak in through the back. Now, in the back on, I felt left side is in a deli shop, and the right side is where the alcohol is. My friend ducked into the deli station, and I hid on the right side. There was a female worker in the deli, and my friend made a signal for her to be quiet. The female worker pretended we weren't there at all. A couple minutes pass and we hear the front door open. I peek around the corner and it's one of the guys. I head out back, heart racing, hoping he doesn't come back here. Finally, a few more minutes pass and the guy worker from before comes in through the back and tells us that the guys are gone. He chewed them out, oddly enough that they flat admitted to stalking us. When the guy worker pretended to be family, they quickly backed off, claiming they were only getting beer. Learn from the female worker that those guys are regulars and are always going on about creepy and sexist crap in Spanish. Thinking she doesn't know, my friend and I end up hanging out for a little bit, just to make sure those guys weren't hanging on a street corner. Totally grateful to the guy and girl working there because they were in complete understanding and worried about us. Walmart Creep, read by Psycho. I was with my little brother in Walmart and we were in the clothes aisle looking for shirts for my dad's birthday. I am currently 17 and so it was just my little brother who is 4. And myself shopping, he was hiding in those circle racks that have just enough space in between for a kid to fit. He would hide for a little bit, then he would crawl under the gap, his feet, and spook him, and he would laugh endlessly until he hid again. This time I couldn't find him for a while, so I started to get worried and call out Marco, because this is how we found each other in stores. He would respond Polo, and I would immediately find him, except this time a gruff man's voice responded Polo, and I could hear my little brother whimpering. I bolted in the direction of the man's voice and came across another one of the circle racks, but it was extending a little bit, as if a bunch of junk had been stuffed in there. I pulled the shirts off the rack and saw the man sitting cross-legged on the bars across the bottom with my little brother in his lap, the man's hand over my brother's mouth. The man looked to be in his late 40s, and he was very unkempt. His clothing worn. The worst part, he had his pants down, but thankfully not his underwear. My little bro was crying, and at first I had no idea what to do. Then I realized there was an umbrella thing nearby, so I leaned over and grabbed one and smacked the man with it, screaming at him to let my brother go. Some Walmart employees came over and helped the man down and held the man down while I grabbed my brother, and they later called the cops. Turning out the man lured my brother by asking him if he'd like to join the man in a game of hide and seek. He was arrested, but I ever see him near my brother again, I'll kick his ass. If by some miracle he says, let's not meet again, please.